Eve is with a hurt Rebecca who is more knowledgeable about the time ripples than she is willing to admit. Eve is informed that her husband and Isaiah are the same person by the woman. The young person is about to step into a time ripple and land in 1988, it turns out. He will eventually grow up to be Gavin after being adopted. To keep his grandchild to himself, Silas is attempting to prevent Isaiah from doing this. The future Gavin won't exist if Isaiah doesn't step through that ripple. This implies that Eve will never get to know him and that she will never have children. She needs to quickly transport Isaiah to a time portal in Topanga and away from Silas. Scott is smoking away from the camp in another location to calm his anxieties. He suddenly notices a cow approaching him. Although the animal would be helpful to the survivors, he freezes in shock and lets it escape. The survivors do not trust him when he describes it to them. Right at that moment, Levi goes back to the camp to grab Sam since Rebecca needs a modern physician. When they reach at the fort, they start attending to the sick. Additionally, Eve learns that Isaiah and Silas are not native to her tribe. They claim to have fallen through a ripple to get here a few years ago. Para accepted them since she had no reason not to trust them. Finally, Rebecca is able to avoid harm. When asked how she learned about Gavin and Isaiah, she declines to give them the full account. The ripple to 1988 will close in less than a day, she insists, so they don't have much time. They divide up into search groups and follow her advice. Josh, Eve, and Levi opt to use the jeep, while Para and Ty decide to walk. Isaiah is with Silas in a cave at the same time. He wants to go back to the village since he finds it abhorrent that his grandfather injured Rebecca. Silas tells him to remain where he is and claims to be doing everything for Isaiah. Lily feels sorry for Veronica as she observes her sitting by herself in the tent. She is aware that the girl is not evil. After some discussion, Lily suggests that the sinkhole might be an opportunity for them to embark on a new, free life. Scott wants to go check for the cow he spotted earlier at the same time, but no one is ready to go with him. Veronica gives assistance because she formerly lived on a farm. While traveling, Scott learns that his teammate, a kidnapper, is actually not all that horrible of a person. The cow is eventually located, and it is returned to the folks. People begin to trust Veronica as a result of the gesture, which shows Scott to be more than just a stoner. Eve's group locates the cave and learns that Silas is nearby somewhere else. Josh drives the vehicle down a different trail and encounters Isaiah just before he is attacked by a saber-tooth. In the nick of time, he saves the child and brings him to Eve and Levi. After that, the group travels to Topanga. They are unaware that Silas is keeping watch on them and waiting to launch an attack to recover his grandson. Along with 5 additional individuals, Para and Ty discover his footprints. Para believes that Silas' close tribal buddies are assisting him in his search for Isaiah. Ty abruptly experiences a nosebleed and informs Para of his brain tumor. She kisses him, knowing that he is about to die. Gavin also discovers in the future that he and Isaiah are the same person. Ella approaches them as they are debating the notion and tells them to leave her land. Gavin begs her to pay attention to them because his family's survival depends on her. Ella concurs, but she doesn't trust them when they tell her about the sinkhole. It turns out that ever since the sinkhole developed last week, she has been experiencing flashes of the past as well. Gavin finds it unusual because he has been experiencing the same flashes ever since his injury many years ago. Ella and Lily are linked in the same way that Isaiah and Gavin are. 3 years ago, Isaiah arrived, marking the beginning of Gavin's vision. Due to the fact that Lily entered the past at that time, for Ella, it began a week ago. Gavin can see the logic in everything, but Ella is unwilling to participate. Gavin comes up with a strategy to win her over later. He visits the archaeological location where the letter and the scene of the plane crash were discovered. Then he takes a drawing-covered stone. He thinks the stone will convince Ella to trust what she has painted as an art endeavor and in her visions. In the interim, Rebecca gets better and discovers a crucial diary under Silas's bed. She is required to give Lily in the camp the diary. Sam decides to accompany her to the camp despite her repeated refusals to say why, even if she still won't say why. Later, Eve, Levi, Josh, and Isaiah arrive at a ravine and must cross a perilous bridge in order to get to the other side. Eve and the child set out first, but as soon as they reach the opposite side, Silas and his followers show up. They hold Josh and Levi hostage and put Eve's life in danger. Levi cuts the rope to stop her from making a hasty choice. The ravine's northern terminus is where Silas then commands Eve to transport Isaiah. Her son and Levi will be killed if she doesn't turn over the child. Gavin returns to the present and visits Ella to show her the stone. The painting she completed a few days ago and the one she saw in her dreams are identical. Then, in the far past, Lily is seen gazing at the stone, demonstrating that she and Ella are the same person. In the woods, Para and Ty encounter Eve and Isaiah. For the fight against Silas and his troops, they need more people. Ty and Para make the decision to go to the camp to seek assistance. Meanwhile, Rebecca and Sam arrive at the camp, where Rebecca informs everyone about the ripple that started in Topanga and eventually led to 1988. The group can only return to a life like the one they had prior to the sinkhole through it. While some of them opt to enter the hole and begin a new life, others prefer to wait for a ripple to take them back to where they belong. Rebecca responds that she created the waves when asked how she knows so much about them. She is accountable for the accidental time travel along with a group of scientists that includes Silas. Both of them are making an effort to find a solution to the issue they brought up. Later, she visits Lily and gives her a notebook paper. She commands her to deliver it to Isaiah in Topanga at all costs. She even states that if she succeeds, she will send Lily back home. The young woman then embarks on her journey to accomplish so. Veronica is following her because she fears for her safety if she goes alone. However, she steps into a bear trap an hour into the hike, hurting herself. Lily makes every effort to assist her but is unable to. As a result, she makes a pledge to return with assistance after delivering Isaiah the page as she promised. Ella later displays the outfits she was wearing on the day of her adoption to everyone. She still has the piece of paper in her pocket. When Sophia examines it, she discovers that it is a map of every ripple that already exists or is soon to form. Eve discovers Levi and Josh with Silas and his guys somewhere else. Silas will kill the two if he loses patience. Eve leaves Isaiah in a secure location rather than take the chance and heads to Silas. Before sending his men to locate Isaiah, he shackles her hands and confines her with her group. When Ty and Par get to the camp, they inform everyone about Josh and Levi's kidnapping. On a rescue operation, they are joined by Sam, Lucas, and Mary Beth. Finally, they track down Silas's troops and launch an assault. After some difficulty, the team is able to defeat the bad guys and save Eve and her crew. Josh suddenly feels his knees give out and his body begins to hurt. This is due to the fact that the ripple has begun to shut and his life is in danger. Isaiah and Issy will vanish if they are unable to make it through in time. Along with Isaiah, Riley, Mary Beth, and Lucas continue their trip to Topanga. While waiting, Sophie carefully examines the map and discovers that Seattle will be the site of the upcoming sinkhole. Everyone must leave the city as soon as they can because it may be anywhere. Since Sophie lacks the authority to accomplish this, she turns to David, a former co-worker, for assistance. Though initially dubious, he eventually offers to help in any way he can. Josh, Eve, and Levi must be saved, and then the group must follow Isaiah. To get to him faster, they opt to take a more direct but riskier route. It is teeming with traps and runs underneath a cave. Then, Scott, who is still within the camp, can be seen walking toward Rebecca. She needs to get to a location in the north but is unable to do so on her own due to her injury. Scott won't assist her unless she divulges all the details of the time travel and the ripples. Instead, Rebecca offers to show him something amazing in exchange for his assistance. Scott accepts the deal, and the two depart on their quest. The group that includes Isaiah encounters a member of the tribe somewhere else. While Lucas and Mary Beth are fighting the attacker, Riley flees with the child. In the end, Mary Beth is also stabbed while he is shot and murdered. The group comes back together a time later. Sam does his utmost to assist Mary Beth, but the wound is really severe. While the others choose a quicker route to the cave, Mary Beth and Lucas choose to proceed at their own leisure. Soon after entering the aforementioned cave, they discover a tar pit. The only means to exit the other side is by ascending a ladder that is perched atop the pit. Josh takes the initiative and crosses first, followed by Isaiah. The ladder, however, breaks when Eve tries to do the same. Her son drags her outdoors when she nearly falls into the hole. The others then opt to take the longer way, leaving Eve and Josh to continue with Isaiah alone. Lucas notices Mary Beth struggling to advance in another location. She is unable to walk because of the significant blood loss. He exhorts her to maintain her composure, but a short while later, she dies. Lucas can only sob while cuddling his mom. The map begins to fade in the present for some reason. Ella speculates that this is the result of Lily's failure to reach Isaiah in time using the map. Additionally, the seismic signals begin to change away from Seattle, rendering the entire evacuation ineffective. In the end, they locate the sinkhole in the middle of the forest. It is much smaller than the previous one, making it impossible for a plane to pass through. Still, Gavin is adamant about locating his family. When Silas discovers them, Eve is en route to Topanga. He attempts to remove the child, but Ty stops him with a gun and soothes him. Silas bids his grandson farewell and accepts what the future holds for him. When Eve and Isaiah ascend the mountain, they can enter the ripple. Before Isaiah enters, she makes a commitment to see him again. Josh and Izzy are both happier now that their lives are not in danger. Izzy and Gavin want to plunge into the sinkhole together. Ella also desires to go with them as she has seen Rebecca in her visions and is aware of her need for assistance. Finally, they dive into the abyss and emerge into the world of 10,000 BC. To meet their family, they must fly to Los Angeles from ancient Seattle. After spotting a nearby mammoth, Gavin confirms that they are in the correct time. When Lily shows in and inquires about Isaiah, Eve and the group are already celebrating their victory. She realizes that he has already traveled into the future and rushes to the ripple to offer him the page. The green light suddenly expands and includes Josh, Riley, and Lily. When Rebecca and Scott arrive at a mountain, the episode is over. Scott notices a cutting-edge structure, which turns out to be Rebecca's invention. Turn on notifications, leave a like, and subscribe to see more content like this on the channel. Thank you for viewing.